Okay, everyone. Hi, welcome to This Week in Hospitality Digital Marketing. I'm your host, Lauren, and an association of other people that may come in and out. I have to say that our audience was going to be maybe a little thin this week, and I am going to be dutifully distracted. I am keeping up with the live coverage of Apple's event, What's New Siri, or Hey Siri, I should say. And they just announced the TV. Of course, they started with the watch and the OS updates, and then the new iPad Pro, which is a 12.9-inch screen. And then now they went over and added the Apple TV. So this might be one of the shortest This Week in Hospitality, only because there's a good distraction as to what else is going on. I love Apple gadgets and have all of them. Looking forward to the new Watch OS update. But anyway, let's start a little bit. Actually, you know what? We can talk since we have nobody yet as of joined, and this is being recorded for posterity. A little bit of what Apple does when they do these things and how it impacts us in hospitality. I mean, we already know that the watch has made an impact. And of course, Apple in their statistics is only putting themselves in a favorable light. They're saying there's a 97% satisfaction rate with those who have purchased the watch. I, being one of those people, went through a life cycle process with that. At first thinking, excited to get it. Once I finally got it, being an early adopter, I'm like, this is great. And then for a couple of days, I really thought that I paid for a very expensive watch that I really could have done maybe more affordably not doing the Apple Watch. I now have rescinded that thought and think of it more in the world of how helpful and how handy it is. And from a traveling perspective, from a hospitality point of view, it has actually helped. I never noticed how often I pulled my phone out for the time or for directions or for my TripIt updates or for my notifications that my flights were changed or for a variety of reasons that the buzzing in the pocket or the chiming of the phone if I leave the audio on were constantly reminding me. They started piling through my watch and I actually started turning a lot of this stuff off because you just default, oh yeah, no, let me know, and then eventually not. From a travel perspective, it really turns very handy that if you're navigating an airport and you get that notification that the gate's changed. It's a simple glance at the watch face now compared to a stop, drag in a bag, flip out the phone, see what the notification is kind of thing. These functionalities are only going to get better as time goes on. And from a hospitality point of view, it's only going to improve the guest experience with us. A lot of conversation has gone on in trying to describe digital marketing for hospitality and do a bit of a time sequence. You have the traditional thought of digital marketing, which is the acquisition of guests, getting the message out for your hotel, your restaurant, your spa, or golf, or whatever, in front of your potential client, and all the ways and tools that we talk about on digital marketing to do that, to acquire your guests. And then you have the next phase of that process in very simplistic terms, in which is the actual time of engagement with your property and with the ability to cultivate that experience for them. That will be the memorable experience, the one that will forever keep you in their mind should they want to come back to the market that you're in. And that's where I think things like this watch and the advancements of even the iPad Pro, a new way of engagement. I remember when the iPad was first thought to be introduced, people were making mocking jokes of it, that it looked like a big iPhone. And what the heck do I need a big iPhone for? And now look what it's done. It's revolutionized literally the function of traffic, where no longer is it desktop computers and laptops. It's iPads and mobile phones. And even now we've gotten more finite. And when we used to include iPads and tablets as a part of the mobile experience, we realized with designing websites and so forth that iPads and tablets can kind of handle the same display functionality as a laptop or a desktop. So mobile has actually now gotten defined even separately, where mobile has its own value and its own screen size and its own functionality. And I think a lot of this new technology, like I said, with the Apple presentation going on right now, with the updates to what the watch does and this new iPad Pro, that's basically like a laptop with the convenience of an iPad interface. It's going to change how people's guest experience at our properties and getting to our properties is really going to be changing it. DeAndre is with us, and he is definitely saying he's not going to be buying an iPad Pro. I understand it, but although I do have to say, DeAndre, that I like the fact that they said that it can edit 3 4K videos at the same time. That's some serious interactive power for the iPad, I have to say. And it is expensive. But all Apple products are expensive. My watch was expensive. The iPad expensive. The iPhone expensive. The MacBook Pros, the Airs are all pretty expensive. You pay for the convenience factor of what you normally do 80% of the time on the platforms. But then again, you miss that 20% of customization I think Microsoft still creates a value proposition for. So again, going back to how this kind of stuff impacts us for hospitality, the new upgrades to the watch and what its notifications are and its usability is for the next generation of software for it is really going to be probably enhancing not just getting the guests to your property by helping them navigate traffic changes or travel plan changes and so forth and notifications, but really the experience within staying with you. We know and have learned painfully over the past few years that it's not so much about marketing what's in your hotel and trying to keep that internal capture with your hotel as, oh, they must have breakfast, lunch, and dinner at my restaurant. And as far as I'm concerned, no other restaurant exists outside of our hotels. We know that in the connected world that we're in now, that's just sticking your head in the sand. People will discover the biggest ball of twine in your neighborhood, and they don't want to miss seeing it. So if there's a great grouper sandwich shop or a great Philly shop outside of your hotel walls, they're going to want to find it, and they're going to hold you in contempt for not having let them know that that opportunity existed. So we learned in these past few years that destination marketing has turned into a very positive thing. That's not so much about heads and beds as it is why you want to stay with us by letting people become informed as to what's around us. And that strategy has taken a few years to connect. And I think things like the Apple Watch and these things that are just being released today, and not the Apple Watch is being released, but the upgrades to the Apple Watch, is only going to refine that value proposition, because now as the guest experiences the amenities and the product that we have at our hotels and so forth, they can also begin to go out and experience the surrounding area in a much more informed way, that rather than having to walk around staring at a small screen on their phone, their watch can thump and vibrate and indicate where they're supposed to take a left or a right to get to that restaurant or that art gallery or that event that they were looking for without a lot of needless fumbling around and discovering and all these other kind of things. And getting off of the Apple conversation a little bit, there's a whole nother realm with that Google's working on. When it comes to their augmented reality and their virtual realities, the ability to begin to understand and visualize the destinations in a very engaging way. For those who may not know of Google Cardboard or Google's attempt at, work in progress of creating a 3D environment that allows you to at least visually bring yourself, and with sound, into another location, so that maybe this is a way of introducing your product to your potential guests by literally bringing them to a site that has these 360 videos that can be affordably done now, and then placed on platforms like Google Cardboard, where the cardboard itself is only $4. It looks like a pair of goggles. Actually, hold on. Yeah, I got one. These things. The ability to go over and actually share by putting your phone in this and looking through this, Android or iOS, and it allows you to go over and share the experience that might be the reason why they decide to stay with you. They feel a little bit more connected, being aware of what the rooms look like, your amenities, your common spaces, the interaction that your staff has, or at least the intent that your staff has to being with the spirit of serve of hospitality. Maybe bringing them to local destinations and local places in a 360 kind of way, so that they can visually experience what they might want to do when they get there. These are all technologies that are improving that stage of engagement with the guests that's about while they're with you at your property. Like I said, too often we tend to focus on digital marketing for hospitality on the whole attraction and gathering of your guests by using demographics and retargeting and what platforms that we advertise on and the content that we create so that we can get the engagement for conversion. And that's all very, very important, very, very powerful, but it isn't the sole conversation about all of digital marketing and digital strategy. It's also the desire to go over and become a part of this. I have Bernadette who would like to join. Bernadette, you're more than welcome to, since I seem to be talking with myself. I have a few, but I'll be happy to chat with you.
Yeah, I didn't want you to feel lonely.
Hello. How are you?
I'm great.
Thanks for joining on the conversation. I felt with the Apple event going on, I wasn't going to have much of an audience today as we talked about this, since I'm actually distracted looking.
That was like, wow, everybody's talking Apple. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. It's the day to do it with everything that's being announced for them. I just wanted to make sure we kept it in the context that it affects how we're going to be engaging with our guests at our hotels now, the new technology rollouts that are coming in. So what are your thoughts? What caused you to join today?
Well, I'm a marketer. I help small businesses understand how to do marketing for their business. And yesterday I was on a call doing a training of online branding with a hospitality owner. A hotel owner. She's really a bed and breakfast. So she's trying to figure out why she has a slump in her market. She's great with TripAdvisor. She's number 3 in the country that she's in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great. But she wants to be able to control a little bit more of her sales rather than allowing Trivago and all those guys to be taking such a big percentage from her. So she figured it's time she starts doing some marketing on her own. So I figured I'd come in and see what you had to say. And then pretty much what you're saying is what I was thinking. So it's just confirming, and it's great to hear it from somebody else, connecting the two. So it's great.
Any particulars that you're working on with them as to strategies that of how to try to everyone, I guess, and I know with a lot of our clients that they want to reduce the OTA, the online travel agents' market share that they're providing. Because of commissions and so forth. And yes, you can advertise on your own for PPC and for social as well. But from a strategic point of view, what are some things you're recommending to them that you think would be ways to help reduce their OTA dependence?
Well, I was trying to get her to understand that she needs to market in a 2 months or 3 months in advance. So in other words, when she sees an activity, because we have the country that she's in is very activity based. It's not sun, sand, and sea. She's in the Caribbean. Mm-hmm. So we are business tourists, sport and adventure tourists, and event tourists. So in order to capture people to come and stay by her, she needs to be talking about the events that are going to be coming 2-3 months in advance. Mm-hmm. And then my big question after talking to her is I needed that when I get to our next call, where to do her research. So that's really what I was looking for, why I jumped on with you.
Oh, well, I used to be back when it was the CHA, I was actually the chairperson for the Caribbean Hotel Association's, at the time, e-commerce. I did that volunteer for it. And one of the things that was always a problem for the Caribbean was people associate the Caribbean as one single destination, that if there's a hurricane or weather or anything, the entire place is under a watch or something. And they don't really realize how uniquely different each of the islands truly are. And that it's not the same experience in each locations. They're almost night and day some ways. I mean, other than geographically being in the same part of the world, they're physically dynamically different. You say that she's a small, like a bed and breakfast or a boutique.
A bed and breakfast unit. She has 2 actually.
Oh, on the same island?
Yes, on the same island.
It's fun because for us, we have clients also through the Caribbean, South America, pretty much mostly over the world, except for a lot of we don't have Pan Asian and Russia so much, but we have it in Europe and other places as well. And some successes with the OTA displacement is the OTAs are great about funneling the generic interest to the destination. I don't like funnels anymore, but the high acquisition where people are still in the aspirational decision mode. Mm-hmm. But for the clientele that are for bed and breakfast or boutique or for that intrinsically intimate relationship, social has been a huge way of creating that relationship value. Saying, look, it's a story. Let me tell you about not what my room rate is or why you have to buy from me, but rather what makes this island unique, and get them sold on the concept that isn't on the OTAs. That it's not about, hey, here's our rates, here's our flights, here's our thing. It's more like, this is what it's here's a picture on Instagram of a sunset you can't get unless you just walked out with your cup of coffee or your drink at that time of night and caught the picture. That kind of
Right.
kind of thing to it. Do you recommend paid social much, or do you talk about just doing the organic, or?
Um, it I really, for her, she needs to learn the organic. And then I told her eventually we're going to get onto our Facebook likes campaign.
Does now with when you're doing the organic for the Facebook, are you talking about doing an editorial calendar with her as well as to here's your business cycle? So you go back and you start talking about a storyline that engages people when they're beginning to have that interest in that destination, because I know there's a very high seasonality to it.
Correct, very high season, and any activities change.
Right. And you have a certain demographic. Does she have a good CRM database? Does she have a good email list that you can
Well,
do
she
Facebook and make
says she has, but she's not using it well.
Well, with custom audiences for Facebook, is that something that you may mention to her, that if she took her database and put it into Facebook, she then could say, well, about this time of year, usually 24 to 32-year-olds come down as romantic couples. Maybe I can get my audience identified that way, and then do a lookalike and say, wow, I didn't realize so many people came from Philadelphia, Cincinnati, and Cleveland. Maybe I should do some geofenced advertisement or something specific to those audiences about why they would want to come down.
Right. I told her that, yes, I think I asked her that question, and I asked her what was her repeat, where the audiences were coming from through the year. So yes, we were going to get into that. So that's a great point. Yes, you have to, and then get on Facebook and try to reach out to those people through Facebook.
Yeah.
Good point.
Good story. Where you're talking about, again, not selling them at the time that they're looking to purchase, getting them engaged in the idea so that when they go to get to their point of purchase, then they're thinking.
Right.
With Facebook and for paid services and all, do you do lookalike audiences with that, or do you have anything that you've done successfully like that for Facebook?
Not really, no.
It's scary.
But it sounds reasonable.
The other is, especially with the Caribbean, and everything's based on airlift. And not to reinvent the wheel, but the airlines know, they spend their time knowing when they should increase their mechanical flights. And
how many planes come in? I see it as an ordinary person. I've noticed it myself.
Yep. And so you can literally, rather than you have to create your own unique strategy, you can kind of ride the coattail and say, well, why did that airline increase lift from Cincinnati to their hub site of Atlanta to fly from Atlanta to the island, unless they already know that they're targeting or have good results in converting that time of year people to come down to that island from that city. And you can just target your audience then, especially if you already know the demographics for that time of year, like you already know that your age or your income of interest is, and then just tailor the advertisement to those cities. So she doesn't have to spend that much money, but she can be very specific about improving the conversion from those feeder markets.
Right. Sounds great.
Just thoughts. I mean, it's the same challenge with on a regular basis is to, okay, you're on a small island. You're one of several places that offer similar but different stuff. And you're also one of many islands that people kind of equate as being similar or just one of several choices. And it's really a challenge, like you said, to get the interest away from the OTAs who are just selling get their modality of it and say, this is why you want to stay with us in particular. Kind of strategy to it. So it does take a bit of a finesse, but it sounds like you're very comfortable with the conversation to have with her. So it sounds like you'll be successul with her.
Great. Well, I didn't want you to feel too lonely out here because you're by yourself. So
I appreciate it very much. Yeah, we're going to try to do. We try to do it every Tuesday, but we shifted it over to Wednesday because we're trying to find as Blab is getting bigger, we're finding out that there's a lot of large players that can draw good audiences that we end up competing with, and we're just trying to find a good, comfortable time that people in the industry can break after lunch or before.
Yeah, I was on what time zone are you on?
Central.
Central, okay, because I was on at 4 last week, Friday, and it's a good time for England because it's 9 o'clock their time.
Nice, good point.
4 o'clock on the Eastern board, and it's not too crazy morning on the Pacific board. So it's 4 p.m., which would be pretty much 3 your time, Central. It was a nice time. You know?
It sounds like a good time because as we hope, because normally we have a decent following as we do this, but we knew this week was going to be a challenge. We're going to have a couple of people that are joining us from the Hospitality Sales and Marketing Association next week.
Great. So drop me a tag and, you know.
I will. And see if you can join us for that. It should be a pretty fun conversation.
Yes. Good. Well, I'm also in homeschool as well. So my son went for a lunch break. So I figured I'd jump on Blab and see who is on.
Excellent. I appreciate you joining. And if anything else,
so,
ask a question.
Nice meeting. Is it Lauren is your name?
Yes, it is.
Excellent. Nice meeting you.
Take care. Nice to meet you. Take care. That was nice. It was fun to go over and talk with somebody, a little shop as to strategies and so forth. And there's Carrie. And I thought I was going to be alone all day.
Good job, Lauren.
Hi, Carrie. I figured for posterity's sake, we should record it. I'm distracted with the Apple stuff. I'm like, I want to watch the Apple releases. And, I got Lorraine too. Hold on.
Do you see DeAndre waving?
No. Yes, I see DeAndre waving. And cool. I have.
Well, good job today.
Thank you. I just thought we'd have a 15 to 30 minute. Okay. I got Lorraine wanting to join. Hold on. I don't know who Lorraine. Whoop, no, she doesn't. Lorraine, I lost you. Sorry about that, Lorraine.
Okay. Well, I have to hop off.
Anyway, well, yeah. What time is it? Oh, it's 1:21. Yeah, this is free. We have a few people, which is nice. Okay. I think I'm going to wrap up because I want to go back to the Apple and see what's released next with the Apple TV. All right. Bye. All right. Well, thank you again. And then, oh yeah, Bernie says hi to DeAndre as well. He waved from behind. Not trying to cut this short. We normally would love to have 2 or 3 people in chairs so that we could talk back and forth about different strategies and so forth. And I don't want to make this a Periscope where it's just me talking about whatever I find of interest at the time. So we'll put this in the record books as a conversation we had today. And we'll be back again probably about the same time next week. If not, just take a look. If you'd like to subscribe to us, of course, it'll update. If we change the time for next week, but we want to try to keep this as a weekly opportunity to talk about digital marketing as it relates to hospitality. And we would love your thoughts and input if you get the chance, and to join us whenever possible. Thanks again for the time spent today. Thanks again for Bernadette having joined us and asked some questions about their client in the Caribbean, and as well as Carrie and DeAndre and everybody else that had the chance to jump in with us. So thanks again, and we will talk to you.